Hey fam, in today's video I'll be showing you how to make this beat up neckline office gown. Here are the tools and fabrics I'm going to be making use of. First off, I have my pattern master, which is a versatile tool every fashion designer should have. I have my pin cushion, I have my ball head pin, my fabric scissors and paper scissors, my measuring tape, my zipper, and yes, I'm going to be making use of this stretchy crepe white fabric, and I'm going to be combining this with this navy blue stretchy crepe fabric. Okay, so this navy blue is going to form the major part. So you also need your basic pattern, your front and back basic pattern. And without further ado, we're just starting right away. So I'm going to be going directly to my zipper point on my back pattern. Remember, it's a built up neckline like the picture you're seeing. So I'm going to be extending that by 1.5 inches. Now, this is totally up to your preference, depending on how high you want that part to be. But I feel 1.5 is enough, based on what my clients wanted, is enough. Now, on the shoulder tip, you are going to be extending by 1.25. Please, you have to take note of these two measurements. Whatever you're using on the front, on the back pattern is the same thing you use in front. So I went on to connect that 1.5 inches on the zipper part, which I extended, and the 1.25 inches on the shoulder region, as you can see. Now, the next thing I went ahead to do was to join both points using a slight curve. So from that zipper point, I'm going to be making a slight curve to my shoulder region. The reason why I had to bend my pattern master is because I don't want to have a sharp end at that particular place. You can also use your free hand to do this if it's going to give you a perfect curve. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to come down to my shoulder part, that shoulder line, and I'm going to be coming out by 1 inch, or coming in rather by 1 inch. Now this 1 inch is just to create a slight curve from that extension of that 1.25 down to the shoulder region, so that when I'm sewing, I'm going to have a perfect fit and shape. So that's all for the back pattern. Now we are moving on to the front pattern, and the first thing you want to do is to extend that shoulder line. You don't have to use any basic measurements, just extend the line parallel. Okay, and on that line now, I'm going to be imputing the same 1.25 I did on the shoulder line at the back. I will have to impute it in front also. But before I impute it, I'm going to be coming out by 0.25 inches to enable this particular part sit well on my client's neck. So on that 0.25 inches, I'm going to be going up with that extension of 1.25, and at the end of the day, this is what I have. I'm going to be making use of my pencil to draw a parallel line on that 1.25 extension, as you can see me do. So I went in with my marker to connect both lines together, right? And the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my measuring tape and to go in by 1 inch. So what I'm doing here is creating the same exact curve I created on my back pattern on that shoulder region. I hope you can understand this better now. So this just determines how the neckline is going to look like in front, how it's going to look curvy, and that is just all for the beat up neckline. It's so easy, fam. Now the next thing you want to do is to determine your neckline. Now, because we are going to be making an asymmetric neckline, you want to pay attention right now. The first thing is to determine the depth. So the depth I'm going to be making use of here is about 5 inches. Okay, and what you want to do, remember that this is a basic pattern and we already have the neck width already. So now, because I'm going to be creating an asymmetric neckline and the neckline is kind of high, I took my pattern master to make a slight curve, even though I discovered that the curve was a little bit excessive, which I had to later reduce at the end of the day. But then you're still good to go depending on the shape you want. So after making this slight curve, another thing that came to my mind was the fact that I need to have sewing allowance. Okay, now I'm going to be saying this and I need you to pay attention. You are not going to be cutting through this neckline on fold. I repeat, don't cut through this neckline on fold. Just follow what I'm doing and I trust you are going to get it. Okay, so I just went on to highlight with my marker for the benefit of, this video so that it's going to be more clearer and more visible. So I had to add this 0.5 extension simply because I'm going to be sewing through that neckline and it's going to be high. So the next thing you want to do is to add sewing allowance all through the shoulder part and the built-up neckline and cut out. So I've done my ear, and the next thing I'm doing here is just to see if my shoulder region of my front and back pattern fits well. For you to be sure that what you've done is accurate, both pattern must fit well. Like when you place them on each other, they must be able to fit well. Then that means you're on track. So I tried mine and it gave me something accurate. So I was happy. And then that is just all you need to do. We are going to be moving on to the cutting session. Okay, yes, we are going to be moving now. I'm going to be cutting out my back pattern right now. And if you've watched to this point, please do well to hit the subscribe button, turn on your notification bell so that when I post videos, you get to see them. So yeah, I'm just trying to cut through that excess on my back pattern, majorly on my zipper region, so that I'm going to have a perfect fit on my back to avoid zip bulge. So over here, I'm just here, as you can see, I'm cutting this same exact pattern. I made sure I added all necessary allowance and on the pattern. So I'm just cutting the exact thing, as you can see. So this is what the built up neckline look like. You can see my sewing allowance. I went on to notch my that region and label this as the back pattern. So moving to the front, I placed this front on fold, and as you can see, I did not cut the neckline at all. Remember I said it's an asymmetric gown, so I did not cut the neckline at all. So what I'm going to do here now is to just cut through the remaining parts, the armhole, side seam, and the waist region. So after doing this now, I went on to indicate my dart region, and yes, I'm going to be opening up the fabric. Remember to label, this is very important. So you can see the region for the built up neckline, right? So what I'm going to do is to place this pattern on one side to give me the same exact measurement. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is from that built up neckline, I'm going to be connecting a line, okay, that is going to give me the exact shape that was seen on the gown. So I'm just going to connect it to that built up neckline. So far, this is it, as you can see. So the next thing I'm going to do here is to come through with my scissors and cut through this line. So this is what is going to form my neckline, the neckline that we saw. Remember, now it's still having the built up details, and at the same time I've been able to achieve that asymmetric shape. Okay, so now this is it. I'm just trying to cut through at this point. So after cutting through, I noticed that the curve was a little bit much. Okay, when I opened, I noticed that the curve was a little bit much. So I went in with my scissors to actually trim some parts, and I noticed that I did not capture everything in details. So I just went in to trim in some parts, and that's it. Okay, the next thing I'm going to be doing from this point is to indicate that part that I'm going to be cutting off. Remember, it has some white details on the upper part. So this is totally up to you. you can see the same thing that was cut out. I placed it on the white fabric and I cut 2 pieces of the white fabric, okay? And I added 0.5 sewing allowance round on the white fabric. So I'm going to be joining this part to the major front fabric. So I also went on to cut facing, and this is the back facing. What I just went on to do was to put my fabric on fold. I had to cut this into 2. Remember, the back pattern is always open. And yes, you can go in with 3.5 inches, 4 inches. This is totally up to you. But I think I ended up using about 4 inches for my facing, for the facing length. So I cut the same exact pattern to be able to get my facing. And after doing that, I just went on to remove the front piece, that's for the back pattern, the first piece, and I was able to cut my back facing properly. Okay, this was just me measuring and to be sure of what I really used. Okay, I think I ended up trimming this to about 4 inches. So this is me indicating, yes, the front and the back. Also indicating the direction at which I have to place this so that I don't get confused. If you're a beginner, then you need to do this. So fam, this is it. I added interfacing on this built up pattern, on this built up part, on the upper part of the front and the back pattern, as you can see. So even on the white piece I added interfacing. I also went on to sew in my darts, and yes, I've joined the front piece together, the cut off parts. I was able to join it together with my sewing machine. This was off camera, please. And I'm going to be giving this a good press. So the next thing you want to do after doing that is to bring your back pattern, okay, that has the interfacing. Remember where the beat up neckline is. You're going to be joining shoulder to shoulder. It means the right side of the front and the back is going to be facing each other. So this is just me joining the shoulders together. As you can see, showing you how to do this. I'm going to be joining this my sewing machine for both sides of the main fabric and the facing. So now I've joined both sides together, trim excess, notch when necessary. And for the facing, this is what I have after joining the front and the back facing together. So fam, the next thing you want to do is to go in with your pin and join both ends together. Ensure the ends meet. Like the facing part, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to be joining everything together, the facing and the main fabric. Mind you, I've not joined the side seam of the fabric itself, the main fabric itself at all. So this is going to make it easier for you to be able to work. So now this is me. I've been able to join the front. I top stitch on the back on the facing part. As you can see, this is what is giving me after top stitching, and the front part too. I also went on to cut my sleeve outside this particular, outside camera, and I've been able to join my sleeve to the front and the back pattern. I've also sewed the edges together. So fam, this is what the upper parts look like after sewing. Okay, and in my next video I'm going to be showing you how I came about the lower region with the pleats details and the overall effect of the outfit. I couldn't wear this outfit because it's for a client and mannequin did not do justice well to this. So my next video, check out the other details. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.